Hello fellow travelers. This video I'm going to do about something that occurred to me yesterday. We're so focused in our own journey that we tend to, as a human, because it's our human ego that sees it this way, we think that everything is as we see it, and that other realities, other people's realities, are just not happening. The world is as we see it, and that's all there is. And that's not even scratching the surface of it. So this has occurred to me a number of times, but then I popped back out of it right away. But I started thinking about this yesterday, how I keep thinking of things that I'm experiencing now when I couldn't have experienced them a month ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago. Oh, I was a mess 2 years ago, coming out of it. But 4 years ago, I was a real mess. And even before that, but that's when I came online to the Twin Flame experience, was in 2020 rather. Now, I don't know if, we don't give this thought. Who's coming online now? They're going to be coming online forever, probably. So this is sort of geared towards people that are newly activated into this energy, because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and it's intense, and it's overwhelming. It's hard on the system, really hard on your nervous system, and everything in your body feels like it's betraying you. You can't count on your emotions. You can't count on your thoughts. Life as you knew it before you activated with your twin is gone. You might have had problems. You might have had relationship problems. You might have had ego problems. You might have had anything, but they seem to be at a manageable perspective. And then, boom, it's just enlarged so large that you can barely handle it. For me, when I got activated, I don't know how my human body contained it, to be honest with you, because it felt like I was taking my body, and I probably was. The energy was pushing out to the edges of its known energy field at that point, and it was pushing the energy field further and further. And number one, we've never done that before in our lives, so we don't know that feeling before. That is completely new. And it's scary. It's really scary. When I was in a really good position, I was already retired, I was out of the workforce, didn't have family. I was walking away from family at the time. I had actually just walked away from my family 5 months before meeting my twin, and I think that was the lead up to meeting him. But I didn't have those things. I still had the odd person I was associating with still at that point that I thought were perfectly normal. And I've since left them behind because they turned out to be not. Because once you're rising, you see the things that they are, and you can't look away. But I was in a really good position where I was on my own. I had bought my house that I'm in now 3 years before that, had spent those 3 years renovating it, and had hit a point where I was blessedly with time on my hands. And I hadn't gone far enough into that space to think, well, what am I going to do now? Because, well, leaving the family in 2000, after I finished renovating the house, let's do this in order. I renovated the house. Then I left my family. And that's going to come up in future videos. And 5 months later, I met my twin. I now had a full plate. I wasn't asking, what am I going to do with my time? Because my brain was exploding with how to deal with these changes going through me. And I wish that I could have been another person who was familiar with the twin flame journey, which they're not in my world, but that could look at me during that time when I was at my utmost of craziness and say, you look normal. You look exactly like you did before. Because I did not feel that. I did not feel like I was in any way, shape, normal. Inside my head, in the span of 1 60-second minute, I would have 1,000 thoughts. And they were all over the map. They were intense. I was grasping for, I was in survival mode. And what it is it's the energy has brought up, all of that has been sitting down invisible below you. It's bringing it up. And we can do this the hard way by resisting it and thinking I'm crazy and directing all of our energy outwards towards the other twin, which we're going to do. So forgive yourself for it, because it's part and parcel of the process. I did it. I directed all of my thoughts towards him. I pointed fingers in a way, because not at him, but at the woman that was with him, which I think is his wife, but I have no confirmation of it. It was an influential person to him anyway. She was either a family member or she had some kind of a hold on him. And he was heavily swayed by the others around him in a group. And I know that feeling of being in a group when group energy is really toxic. And it can be. Before you're woken up to the life around you, reality, when you start to wake up to things, you start to see how group energy is very toxic. And I used to not be awake because I was within my family. Toxism, I was in the middle of it. Once I was rising out of that and left that, I was able to see the undercurrents that go on within people. And I was heavily influenced by my family to be, do, and say in certain ways in order to be a part of it. And you don't dare step out of line. So I saw right away that he was experiencing that. After we separated, I did a lot of thinking, and I thought that's what was happening to him. He acted in the best way possible for himself at the time. And I didn't hold any ill feelings towards him. I could analyze it and see what was, there's the knowing part of you. I knew what had gone on. The ego part of me was rising up and saying, yeah, but, that part was battling heads with the spiritual part. But what I did was I was able to identify very early in it, probably within the first month, of me experiencing the most intense part right after separation, when you are just heavily overloaded with the ego pulling on the knowing, and it's horrible. But what I saw was the pattern in it, and I know that I wasn't going to be able to fix anything about myself overnight, but I started trying to take the reins on it, because I could see that while I was around the house by myself, I had the freedom to putter and be busy and, try to distract myself a little bit from it. Or go into town and start the little town that I live in. I live about 40 minutes out of a big town. But I really noticed fast that there were times when I relaxed my mind and the ego part swallowed me up whole. And the spiritual part had a hard time. I had a really hard time getting it back over there, such as I would get in the truck. I don't like to buy my groceries out here because it's a lot more expensive. I take the 40-minute drive in and I do a bunch of errands and stuff while I'm in the bigger town. And that's where I get my groceries. Now, I'd sit out from the house and I'd put on my spiritual music, my uplifting music. I knew enough to do that, keep myself up. And I'd start driving. And the minute that you're driving, it's like a meditation. And you don't have defenses the same way when you're in that state anyway. I used to, prior to meeting my twin, I used to love the drive in. And then all of a sudden it got to be where I'd leave the house and before I got to the corner, 3 blocks away, I'd be engulfed by the ego battles. And I'd be fighting with him or something or her or something from 16 years ago, whatever. I was battling and it was getting the better of me. So I'd go, oh my God, I'm doing that. And I'd drag it back over to the song and make a point of gripping the wheel and listening to the song. And within seconds, it could pull me out because something in the song brought up something. Or I thought in the song, say it's a spiritual song and they're singing about love, and I go, well, ain't no love happening in my life. And back I am. And so I'm back and back and back and back. All that drive in. It was horrible because I was doing that 2-3 times a week. And in between, as I'm walking around through the stores and stuff, there's things I'm seeing. Everything reminds you of everything. Everything brings up everything. You're just in the grip of it. So realize that's the way it is. You got to go through that. You're not crazy. It's part of it. But you really have to put this in capital letters, universal size, monitor your thoughts. If they start to get away on you and take you into the negative, drag them back. Do something. Pinch yourself real hard if you have to. I don't care. Give yourself a mental slap. Because if you let yourself go over there, yes, you have to pass through this period. And you will. But you can be proactive in it. You can alleviate your discomfort some by pulling it back over. As soon as I realized that, within a short distance after separating, and I saw how my thoughts were affecting my emotions. I'd be listening to a really good song inside the truck, and it would bring up, I would want to cry, or it would bring up anger because of a key word in the song or something. So my thoughts getting away on me triggered my emotions and took me deep into the well of it. So I knew that I had to control my thoughts because they were triggering my emotions. The emotions take you into the negative. So we're learning how to become masterful over our thoughts, which will master your emotions, because your emotions make your reality. The two together. This is what Jesus talked about in marrying the two as one. When you can marry your thoughts with your emotions in a high vibration, then you're manifesting in high vibration. At the stage that I was going nuts, I was manifesting more nuts because I had no control over my thoughts and emotions connection. And I knew I had to back up and start here. So I made myself up a small bank of positive things that if I noticed I was over there, I could drag myself over here and do this. And it worked. It actually was working really well because I've always been creative, and I refinish furniture, and I've renovated 5 houses and things like that. So I've got processes in my head of things that I thoroughly enjoy when I start. Oh, what's the idea I'm going to do with that dresser? What color would I want to do? What techniques and stuff? I would bring that over, and I wasn't going to make anything with a dresser. I'd just bring it over so that I could think of something. And I would start that creative process. And it wouldn't, in the beginning, it would take like 2 minutes of that before I'd be dragging over, because there's a song. I had to start turning the music off. And I can't listen to the music that I listened to at that time either, because it carries the energy of it. Even though I'm long past it, I really like the song still, but if I play it, it makes me feel that time frame. So anything that connects to your emotions in a negative way, stop it. If it's movies, an actor that you used to love, but during that time you watched a couple of movies with him in it or her, and it holds that energy of it, just don't go there until such time that it's neutral again. So I learned to really get a hold of those thoughts, monitor the thoughts, and for the first while, depending on your journey, what you signed up for, it might be a hard thing of reining that over to keep it there and anchor it there. It will eventually. I mean, I had to work hard on that for a couple of years to get it to where I was feeling really good again. I felt I had processed everything and was feeling really good with life, and then ran into my twin flame and we went into the next phase. And that was a good thing, because as you get further down in your thing, turn around and look back on your journey and see the different phases, because we're really bad about getting stuck in today and, oh, I don't have this, oh, I don't have this, oh, you know, you don't have the bad stuff that you've already shed either. So look at the positives and maybe make a list one day of all the things that you have gone through, all the things that you've dropped, because we don't give ourselves credit for the work we're doing here. Holy smoke, man. We're doing some heavy lifting. We're recreating ourselves, but we can only focus on right now. And that's where you're supposed to be, on the now, not on the negative and not on the future. We don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I have no idea. If I'm somewhat curious about the ending of this, if there ever is an ending per se, but I'm not hanging my hat up on it anymore. I'm fully into living my life and really enjoying it. But it's a slog getting through that energetic amplification. It's really hard, and I feel for any of you that are at that point where you've been newly activated. A word of advice. I know I did it too, and everybody else does. When you're first activated, you turn to the tarot cards and stuff, because when we're first activated, that's the ego. That's the ego. Spiritual's here, and it wants to be a part of it, but the ego is the one that's ruling. So the ego part wants to be told, yes, oh, you met someone and he had to leave you, but he loves you deeply, and all that tarot stuff. The ego needs that. And in some ways, that keeps us on our path too. By watching that, it keeps it's like a little bit of a balm on a sore for a little while. It calms it down a bit. We need all the help we can get getting that energy calmed down. So watch what you need to get the help at the level that you're at. And as you go up, you'll realize you drop the tarot ones and you move up to another level where this level of YouTube is resonating with you. And then as you rise, you'll find that one's not resonating, but this one is. I learned also really early to start looking ahead of those and to try to find people who are so much further ahead of me. It didn't resonate with me, but I thought, I can see the pattern now. I'm rising and I'm starting to go through this, and this. Let's jump ahead and see what they're saying. And they were saying things that I didn't really pick up on, but I thought, geez, it'll be interesting if I see myself there one day. And one day I did. I realized that somebody that I had watched earlier, just a YouTube person, I watched him at this level, and he didn't do much for me, so I stopped. And then when I got to this level, I came upon one of his videos one day, and I watched it from when I was at this level, but I was at this level now, And I watched one of his videos and I thought, I get what you're saying now. I know what, and you know why? Not because I got it here, because I could feel it inside. I was at that level where I could feel it, and that's when you resonate with it. When I was down below, I couldn't feel it because I wasn't there. I wasn't at the frequency that he was talking about. So I saw that. I started tuning into the people that were so much further ahead of me and thought, one day I'm going to know what you're talking about. But if I didn't get it, I would drop back down and watch the ones that I did, but I didn't take them out of, I was unsubscribing to them. I stopped unsubscribing because then their video wouldn't come up at a later date. And I'd find that at a later date, something in there that what they were saying was like, wow, I couldn't have seen that earlier. So start jumping ahead. You got nothing to lose because you're going, it's not in a time and a linear, but the information that you need, number one, will come exactly when you need it in ways that are really surprising, but also there's nothing that says that you can't be proactive in asking. Ask. I found great results with asking. If I was sitting at something and I was feeling like, oh, I just can't get past it, I'd say, send me the message in a way that it flows where my mind can interpret it. And it would come within 24 hours. Something would come up. And I learned that. Holy smoke, I learned that method probably 20 years before I met my twin, when my ex and I were splitting up. I had moved out to this cabin, and I was sitting there one night. Picture this. I had a big glass front door, so no privacy, no curtain, no nothing. And my couch was right there, and it was a stormy night. Like the trees, there was a great big tree right outside that door, bad place for it. But the branches were all coming down, the pine cones were hitting the windows, and it was just, the wind was whistling and pouring rain. The glass window was just running with water. And I was bawling my eyes out because I was having a spiritual meltdown because I had risen up enough away from him. I had to go and I left him. That doesn't make it any easier for you. So I'm having a meltdown on this stormy night, and I just had it. And I just looked up and I shook my fist at the sky and I said, look, put the words in line because I'm so freaking messed up. I don't know what to think. Put the words in line so that I can understand what I'm going through and what to do. And for the next 24 hours, it was like flash bulbs were going off in my head. Insights were connecting. And who knows if it was something that answered my call or if it was me telling my mind to relax and bring the connections forward. But when you are overwhelmed with something, ask for the help because you're programming something or you're opening a door. Just do it. Works every time. I don't ask anymore because I don't feel I need it. I feel that I'm handling it just fine. If I ever do, I know where to turn to. But anyway, to help get a grip on your own thoughts and emotions, start practicing that. Don't let your mind, don't sit there and, my twin flame said this, oh, I'm just dumping him, he's a narcissist. No, that's not what you signed on here for. They're not a narcissist any more than you were when you did your part in the separation. Takes two. You both did what you did. He did it to the extreme that way. You did it to the extreme your way. So no pointing fingers. And there's no blame either. You were both playing a role. You came here to do this. You came here to do this. You said, okay, let's go to it. You did. So just deal with your own stuff on your own side and leave them to do theirs because they're not having it any easier. Last time I saw my twin, he was tortured behind those eyes. I could see it. And I knew, without knowing how I knew this, I knew that it wasn't about me. He was projecting it at me because I was standing in front of him, but it wasn't about me. There was so much going on behind those eyes. And I knew what I had done for the last 2 years, and I hadn't done anything because I hadn't seen it, so it wasn't about me. Take that into consideration. We're only here to work on ourselves. Start with this, it will affect this, and this will give you peace of this, peace of mind. The two together, just keep at it. Pretend that I'm that one that you're listening to from the future that is telling, if I could go back and tell myself in my first year to monitor my thoughts because they'll harness my emotions and it would calm everything down and I would find peace of mind and my whole nervous system would calm down and I would look around and say, well, isn't this a great life because I've got a way better perspective from up here than in the first year. You're going to see that. Okay. Can't think of anything else to say on that. I could go on, but just be aware that when you're in the thick of it and the worst of it, it's not going to last. It comes off in tiny transparent layers, but every day you're taking off many layers that you don't give yourself credit for and you don't notice. So we're waiting for the big layer, the big layer where I have the epiphany or I have my twin or whatever. You're going through a million little ones. So start watching the patterns of yourself. That's the main thing. Everything in life has patterns, and our thoughts create it. So there you go. Something to think about. Or not. Because at all times, it's your choice. Okay, have a good day.